Hey, what's up guys? 2006 Scion XB. Going to replace the Serpentine belt along with the power steering belt. Go ahead and pop your hood. And then with your hood open, if you take a look, there's our Serpentine belt on our alternator there. And then the other power steering one is way down there. So in order to access that, we're going to have to go in through the fender well on the passenger front tire. So since we'll be jacking up the passenger front end there, I'm going to go ahead and place a block behind the driver rear wheel here. Next, go ahead and grab a jack here, and I'm going to place my jack right underneath the frame right here, and then we'll get a jack stand on the pinch weld. Once you get it jacked up to where your tire's off the ground on the passenger front, go ahead and grab a jack stand, and like I said, we'll go right underneath the pinch weld here, closest to the jack as you can. About right there. Go ahead and lower it and get your jack out of here. Next, go ahead and grab a 21 millimeter. Let's get all 4 of our lug nuts off and remove our wheel and tire. And if it gets stuck like that, you may need to kick it off. So next we need to remove this splash shield here to gain access to the belts. So right up here, you're going to have 2 10 millimeter bolts. Go ahead and remove those 2. And then there's a couple more bolts over there, but I think we'll be all right if we just kind of bend this down and just kind of get it out of the way here. And then as you can see, this is going to be our Serpentine belt here. And then behind that one, the smaller one is going to be our power steering. So in order to remove the Serpentine one, we need to go back up top and loosen it up on the alternator to remove this one. So back up top here, guys, what we need to do is we need to relieve the tension on the belt. So this vehicle does not have a belt tensioner. It just goes off of pulling the alternator towards the front of the car there, thus creating the tension on the belt. So in order to relieve the tension, we need to loosen this bolt here, which is going to be a 12 millimeter. All we got to do is just loosen it. And it's going to be very hard for you guys to see the next bolt. But just below this one, right below the alternator there, is going to be a 14 millimeter. And you're going to have to kind of just go off a feel. But you're going to have to loosen that 14 millimeter down there as well. That way we can push this whole alternator towards the firewall there, thus relieving the tension on the belt. So grab a 12 millimeter and let's go ahead and loosen this top bolt here. Like I said, just get it loose. And then for the bottom one there, I prefer to use a 14 millimeter 12 point. It's going to be a lot easier with a breaker bar because you got the frame right in the way of that bolt. So it's pretty tricky getting down in there. So if you got a breaker bar and a 14 millimeter 12 point, that's going to be the best bet. But you can get a socket wrench in there with a 6 point as well. Like I said, you're just going to kind of go off a feel here. And you just want to break that one free. So I'm on it there. So you hear it kind of break free there. You just go a little more. Couple more turns here. Let's try that. And then you should be able to, like I said, just push this towards the firewall. So you can see it kind of moving there. And we need to just go a little more. And we'll just loosen this a little bit more here. You see if that's enough. And I don't think so, so let me loosen that one down there just a little more. on the alternator. There we go. That should be enough. And we'll probably go down below and take it off down below there. Okay guys, so not sure how well you'll see this, but you want to just kind of maybe take a picture of it, or there's probably diagrams online to see how the belt's routed. But you got your crankshaft pulley here, AC compressor, your water pump, and then above that's going to be the alternator where we were. And if you notice, the crankshaft pulley has the grooves along with your AC compressor and then your alternator, but then your water pump's going to be a smooth pulley, so that'll be the back side of the belt. So now we can go ahead and just pull this off of the crank, your old belt here, and then try to slip it off the alternator up there. May have to go back up just to get it off of there, so let me go back up there. And then you can go ahead and just pull your whole belt down out of here. Okay guys, so now let's do the power steering belt. And so if you notice your power steering pump pulley here, and then there's going to be a 14mm bolt right there sticking through. We need to loosen that one, and then along with, there's one above that right through that hole there. We also need to loosen that one in order to push this whole thing that way to get this belt off. So I'll be using just another breaker bar with a 14mm on it. See if we can get this one loosened up here. And that one is super tight. There we go. So get that one broken free. And let me see if I can get a ratchet in there. So I got this 1/4-inch ratchet. See if we can go a little more. So get that one loose. And then we'll probably need to rotate the crankshaft in order to get to that one there. Because it's just too far in there, and then you can see this portion of the pulley is right in the way of getting a wrench in there. So what you want to do next is we'll go ahead and grab a 3/4 or 19mm, and let's go ahead and rotate this crankshaft pulley bolt here. We need to rotate it enough to where this pulley is going to turn, and we'll be able to access that bolt through there. So go ahead and turn this clockwise. So let's try about right there. See if that's going to be enough. So for this one here, I'll be using a breaker bar again, short 3/8 with a shallow 14mm. And I want to kind of get on it, latch on it there, and then go ahead and break that one free. Make sure you're all the way on it, you don't want to strip it. There we go. Let's break that one free. And then just kind of loosen it up a little bit here. Hopefully you guys can kind of see what I'm doing here. It's just pretty much impossible to get the camera up in there because of this frame being in the way. Now let's see if that's enough to rotate this or pull it forward. There we go. If you just pull on the belt there, you can see that brings it forward. So then you can go ahead and slip this off and pull off your power steering belt. Just like that. Okay guys, so let's take a look at our new belts. So went with the Daycos, got these off of Amazon. I'll put a link in the description. They're pretty cheap. 5030335, that's going to be your power steering one. And then just want to make sure you can see it got the 3 ribs there. And if you take a look at the old one, and the old one wasn't too bad, but the Serpentine belt was worse, so that's why we're just replacing both while we're in there. But you just want to make sure it's the same length and everything, so that one should be good. And then the Serpentine belt, if you take a look here, you can see why I'm replacing it. See all those cracks just everywhere on it? So this belt's long overdue for a new one. So, and the Serpentine belt's going to be 5040478. Put a link in the description for it. And just kind of measure that one out. Of course, your new belt's going to be a little bit shorter because it's not stretched yet, but looks like that's going to work. So let's go ahead and get these on. So go ahead and get your new power steering belt around your pulleys here. Make sure you go on the back side there of your crankshaft. Get that around your power steering pulley there. Kind of have to go off a feel up here. It's really hard to get your hands up in here. Okay, so kind of like that. Just make sure you're fully around it. Okay guys, so what I'm going to do is rotate this pulley real quick while it's loose so I can access this bolt, because this one's going to be a lot easier to tighten once we put the tension on it, and then we can rotate it again to get that other one tightened. So what you want to do, I'm going to try a pry bar, and I'm just going to kind of go about right here, and then I'm just going to push on it that way. So you can see it kind of brings the tension onto the belt there. And then I may need to pry a little more. But what you want is, you don't want this to be super tight. You still want to have a little deflection there, because if you go too tight, then you're going to ruin your power steering pump. So you want a little bit of deflection here. So let me just see if I can pry on another angle here. Okay guys, so the best method I found is if you take your pry bar and you get up right underneath this portion right here. So if you take it like this, get up under there like that, and then you're going to pry against this portion right here. So kind of like that. And then have your other hand ready, and we'll go ahead and tighten up that bolt there. So go ahead and pry. So you can see how it kind of moves that. And then just check your tension on here. Like I say, you don't want it too tight, but you want a little deflection. So I'm going to say right about there. And then go ahead and tighten this one up. And it looks like it didn't go enough on that pulley. So let me move that just a little bit there. And pry again here. So I'm going to say about right there. We should be good. So as you're holding that, go ahead and tighten this one up. So just like that. Check your tension again one more time. So I'm going to call that good right there. So just double check and make sure this one's tight. nice and snug. So now what we can do is let's go ahead and rotate that crankshaft again so we can get up to that bolt and tighten that one. Take your 3/4, go ahead and rotate it until you expose that bolt. That right there. Take your 14mm, your breaker bar, get up on that one, and go ahead and tighten that one. Like I said, you can get a socket wrench up in here. It's just, I find it easier with this breaker bar. You just got to keep taking it off every time to do your turn with the breaker bar. It's about like that. And then just double check your tension again. So I think we're good right there. Now let's do our serpentine belt. And I think I'm going to go up top and get it around the alternator pulley first. And then I'll drop it down here and get it around the rest of these. So go ahead and come up top here and just get it around that alternator first. And then you come back down here, and like I said, the smooth pulley there. This is going to go around here, around your crankshaft. And it looks like it came off up here on the alternator. Let me get that back into position. So I'm back around the alternator there. And let's see if we can get back around this water pump pulley. It might be a little too tight. So yeah, I think I'm gonna have to loosen that alternator a little more and shove it towards the firewall here. So let me see if I can just take my pry bar here and pry this towards the firewall. More like that. That should give us plenty of room to get that around now. Okay, so now let's see if we got enough room here. And I think this needs to go the other way. This needs to go around the crankshaft. Oh, of course it fell down. So let me go back up top and feed this through on the alternator there. Okay, so we're on the alternator, and then smooth side, this is going to go on that side of the water pump, and then back around on the AC compressor, and then on the crankshaft pulley, and then up to the alternator. So this is going to come around here like that. Get these two around. It's just the new belt is really hard to get routed because it's so stiff. Let me get back behind the water pump pulley here. Okay. So I think we're on it there like that. So yeah, like I said, you'll be on the alternator. Alternator is going to come down along the crankshaft here, up over the AC compressor, and then this is going to go on the back side of the water pump, up and into the alternator. So now get your 12mm ready. I'm going to use my pry bar. We'll pry the alternator towards the front of the car here, tighten this one up. Then we'll go down below, check our deflection, and then once we're ready, we'll go ahead and tighten that one down there. So like I said, grab your pry bar here. Just make sure you're not prying up against something that's going to break. So just like I said, be careful on what you pry against here. Trying to find the best spot. Just kind of move it forward like that. And then I'll try getting back down below here. Okay, so I'm going to try, just go a little more here. I'm going to try maybe right there first. So let me get this snug. Now we'll go down below, let's check our deflection. So then just come down below here, check your deflection. And that is a little tight. So let me go back up top there, just move it back a little bit, and let's just take some of that tension off because that's pretty tight. Okay, so I moved it back a little bit. So I think that's good right there. That took some of the stress off and it's moving a little bit more freely. Like I say, you don't want it to be too tight because then you just put a lot of stress on the other components. Okay, so then just double check this. Make sure this one's nice and snug. Let's see, about right there. Now we'll go ahead and get this bottom one tight there with our 14 millimeter and our breaker bar. Get that nice and snug. Okay guys, so before we go ahead and put everything back together, let's just go ahead and start it and make sure everything's good. So then just double check everything. Make sure that all looks good. And then also come down below here. You can see everything's turning like it should. So I'm going to call that good. So then just come back down below here before we put everything back together. Now that it ran for a little bit, and then just check your deflection on your belts. Make sure that didn't change because they will stretch a little bit, but I think we're still good where we're at. So I'm going to call that good. So now we can go ahead and get our splash shield back on here. Get your two 10 millimeter bolts in here, and let's go ahead and tighten those up. Go ahead and get your wheel and tire back on here. Go ahead and jack it up, and let's go ahead and lower it. Grab your torque wrench. You're going to torque those to 76 foot-pounds. Alright guys, so that's going to wrap up the video. Again, this was a 2006 Scion XB. Went ahead and replaced the Serpentine belt along with the power steering belt. Not too bad of a job to do, just kind of tight getting into some of those areas to work. So hopefully this video helps you out. If it does, why don't you subscribe to my channel, check out all my other videos. Got a few on this car, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.